The first thing is to see matrix multiplication as a bit of a game. You have to be able to do it, so practice it. Make sure you're good at it. To do that, I'm going to try multiplying two matrices together. My first matrix, matrix A, is going to have the following numbers in the positions you see in front of you. So the first row, 1, 0, minus 2. Second row, 0, 3, minus 1. Then matrix B has three rows, 0, 3, minus 2, minus 1, and 0, 4. And what I want to do is to ask the question, can I multiply A by B? So the two matrices are put together. Is it possible to get an answer by multiplying the matrix A by the matrix B? Now each matrix has what's called a dimension, and it's dependent on the number of rows and columns. So let's write down what they are. In this case, for matrix A, the number of rows is 2, and the number of columns is 3. For matrix B, it's a 3 by 2, in other words, 3 rows, 2 columns. So what's the rule for knowing if you can multiply matrices? Well, when you put it down in this format, you look at the number of columns in the first matrix and compare it to the number of rows in the second. And your answer will be the number of rows in the first times columns in the second. So our answer is possible because the 3's are the same, and it will be a 2 by 2 matrix. So let's go ahead and try multiplying these matrices together. We know our answer is going to be a 2 by 2, so I'm going to make this receiving matrix, if you like, big enough to store 4 numbers in it. Remember, a 2 by 2 will have 4 numbers. So how do we get the number in the first place? Well, think of these as having coordinates. We want the first space. How would we label that first space? Well, it's the first row, first column. Yes, well, if it's in the first row and first column, let's multiply the first row by the first column. It's logical. So I'll try and erase that. Lost one number there. Now my 3's back. Let's take the first row, 1 times 0. Multiply and add, that 0 times by minus 2 and minus 2 times by 0. Now the next position is what position? What coordinate's that? Well, it's first row, but it's second column. Okay. So we know how to get the answer there. We're going to have to multiply those two back together. The first row by the second column. Lost another little bit of the number there. Put the 4 back together again. So that's going to be 1 times 3. Plus 0 times minus 1. Plus minus 2 times 4. And now we go to our next position. Now you should be preempting this. What position is that? Second row, first column. Okay, so we go to the second row, and we're going to multiply that by the first column. Good. Let's see what we get when we do that then. Second row, first column is where the answer is going to be. Second row is 0 times 0. 3 times minus 2, let's add 3 times by minus 2, and then add minus 1 times by 0. Good, and the last position. This is going to be the second row and the second column. So you should be able to predict it will be that row and that column. Okay, so the numbers that go in there. Again, I've lost the number 3 again. Let's put that back. And so we'll have 0 times 3 plus 3 times minus 1 plus minus 1 times 4. Now, we can simplify that because obviously our answer matrix has just 4 numbers in it. So what do we get in there? First one's going to be 1, 0, 0 times minus 2, and minus 2 times 0. It's all zeros, we think. The next one will be a 3 plus a 0 minus 8. So that's going to be minus 5. Next position, 0 times 0, easy, minus 6, and another 0. And the last position, another 0, negative 3, and negative 4, negative 7. Okay, there's our answer, we think. Are we right? Well, because the great thing is that for 40% of your exam period, you will have a calculator. And if you have a calculator, you'd be a fool not to actually go and check it. So, we happen to have a calculator here. How would we do that on the calculator? So, if you start with your calculator, open up your calculator and go to the menu button, we can actually check that. I go into run mode, you see the matrix there, click on matrix, and inside there you're invited to put some matrices in. So good, I'm going to press execute, and I'm invited to put the dimension in. Well, of course the dimension of A was 2 by 3. It had 2 rows, instead of R it's going to be an M, and it had 3 columns. So it's a 2 by 3. Press execute, and it invites me to put the numbers in. So let's go for it. 1, 0, minus 2, 0, 3, minus 1. Good. Okay, press execute. I don't think we'll get out of that, but we can press exit, and we get an invitation to put the matrix B in. So we'll do that, execute, and that's going to be a 3 by 2 matrix. And again, the calculator's ready to receive the numbers, so that's going to be 0, 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, and 4. So we've stored our matrices inside our calculator. And when we come out of that, pressing execute doesn't leave it, but we press exit, which does. I won't go back into run mode. I'm still back in there. Let's make sure we get out of that. That's what we want. Now what we need to do now, see the mat sign, that's the matrix to input. We press options, we'll get matrices to work with them. So you go into mat, again, you press F2. Once you press F2, you get matrix again. This is the F1. But be careful, there's quite a few MATs to work through here. But finally, that's the MAT we want. So if we press that, it's inviting us to name a matrix. We want matrix A, which means we need that little red A. It's going to have to be pressing the alpha button. Remember, the shift button gets the number on the right. We want matrix A. We press alpha A. There we go. And we want to multiply matrix A. So press multiply by matrix B. So we go back up to F1 and alpha, this time B, and execute. Amazing. We got it right. So we'd be a fool not to use a calculator. It's a lot quicker. But of course, the examination determines whether you can use the calculator or not. You have to be able to understand matrix multiplication. Now, a little earlier ago, I looked at that multiplication on the right-hand side and I thought, A times B. Could we multiply B by A. Would that be possible? What would we get? Okay, well, I'm not going to do that, but let's have a go at the calculator doing it for us. Matrix B times matrix A. First of all, will it work? We press execute. Surprise, surprise, it works. But it's a 3 by 3. Could you have predicted that? Do you understand why it is a 3 by 3? Make sure you understand how to multiply matrices. Make sure you understand what's going on, whether it's on the calculator or manually. Understand it, practice it, be confident with both.